In this video, we continue our series looking at underrated watches from popular brands. So if you've not seen part 1 of this series, I will link to it in the description down below for you to check out after watching this video. And to start us off on our list today, we have a Casio watch. It's a Casio that I previously mentioned in one of my most recent videos, and I got a lot of responses saying, hey, I never knew this thing existed. This is totally different compared to what I always assumed Casio was. And watch is the Casio Oceanus. This model is also known as their S100 model, and this is a very interesting watch. Looking at it on the surface, you would have never imagined that this is a Casio. And when you look a little bit further at the specs, it even becomes that more remarkable. For the price here, we're looking at $450 to $600, case size of 41.5 millimeters. Thickness here, we have a pretty impressive 10.5 millimeters. Movement is a Casio module 5235, water resistance of 100 meters, and has a sapphire crystal. So this watch does have an integrated bracelet, but that's really my only gripe with this watch. From there, we have a solar automatic radio, titanium case and bracelet, world time functionality, and a 7-month power reserve. And I think watches like this are really kind of where the difficulty comes with Casio, how they position themselves, because there is a wide conception amongst many people that it really is just all about affordable digital watches for less than 50 bucks from this brand, which is far from the case. Now for our next watch, we have one of the most popular brands in the world, especially when it comes to entry-level Swiss watches, and that is Tissot. The thing about Tissot is I see a lot of their heritage pieces getting sprouted up. They really push those hard. They have a lot of really awesome dress pieces in this under $1,000 range. But one thing that I don't see considered enough is their sports watches. And the watch we're looking at here is the Tissot C-Star 1000 Powermatic 80. And I just really like this watch. I mean, personally, I don't think it would be suited for me. And I don't think it's a watch that is considered as much as it probably should be when you're looking for an affordable diver watch, or a relatively affordable one. The watch comes in with a price range of $500 to around $695, case size of 43 millimeters, so a little bit large here. We're looking at a Powermatic 80 movement, water resistance of 300 meters, and has a sapphire crystal. This watch comes with, of course, an impressive 80-hour power reserve with that Powermatic 80 movement and also 300 meters of water resistance. But this is a watch that I think should be considered a little bit more, and I don't see mentioned as much. Very similar to the Casio that I mentioned earlier, this next line of watches is one that I don't think a lot of people knew existed because it is a Japanese domestic manufactured product, but it is something that I think is very overlooked because us in the USA, we have no problem tracking down cool Japanese domestic models from Seiko. And that's exactly what we're looking at here with the SARD line. So the SARD models we're looking at are the SARD 006, the 007, and the 009. I personally prefer the 006 and the 009 based on their looks. I think they have a little bit more of a minimalist style while having a lot going on in the dials. These watches come in with a price point of around $800 to around $1,100, case size of 39.2 millimeters, case thickness of 13.2 millimeters. They are powered by an automatic Seiko 6R24 movement, water resistance of 100 meters, and sport a sapphire crystal. All the watches sport a day-date display, and I think it just balances out the watch really well with that power reserve indicator on the dial. And then if you maybe don't like the 006 and the 009 options, you also have the 007 with those Arabic numerals and has a little bit different styling if you want to go that route. But a line that I do not seem to see enough, and I think that needs to change. Now for our next watch here, it's from a brand that has a very similar story to tell from Tissot just a while ago. Pushing a lot of heritage pieces, a little bit more dress oriented, but certainly a lot of heritage pieces. And that is Longgen. And in the Longgen umbrella of watches in their lineup, I find a lot of their contemporary pieces or designs not being pushed to the same degree and not being accepted maybe by enthusiasts as much as those heritage models are. And the watch here is the Longgen Conquest Automatic. So I always see love for the Conquest line from Longgen. Most of it is from the heritage line, and then also a lot of vintage pieces, which I both like, and probably still prefer both of them more than this piece. But to be frank, I still think this is a model that is become incredibly overlooked. And when thinking of everyday watch options that have the ability to be dressed up to some degree, but also be able to take on a lot of just rigorous kind of wear, This is a great option that I don't think a lot of people consider. So for the price, we have around $800 to $1,200 for the price range. Case size of 3 options here. So we have a 39mm version, a 41mm version, and a 43mm version. So covering a lot of the bases there. From a movement standpoint, we have an automatic L619888. That is an ETA-based movement, 64-hour power reserve, so really solid there. Water resistance of 300 meters, which I think is fantastic for the look of this watch. It doesn't necessarily indicate or look like it would have 300 meters of water resistance, and a sapphire crystal here. And there's really nothing else for me to say about this watch because it is just a really solid offering that has just been buried alive by all the heritage models from Longgen. And it's probably for good reason. They're really awesome. Now for the next watch, it's from a brand that I do really like, and that is Junghans. So I own a Junghans Maxwell chronoscope. That's probably not news to any of you guys, especially if you follow me on Instagram. I post about that thing all the time. But that watch has grown in popularity quite a bit, and with this watch having so much ties to Max Bill, the Bauhaus School of Design, which is celebrating 100 years this year, so Bauhaus School of Design, I feel this is a model from Junghans that does get overlooked quite a bit. And that watch is the Junghans Form A. So this watch has a price range of $850 to $1,000, case size of 39.3 millimeters, powered by an automatic J802 movement. That is an ETA-based movement here. Water resistance of 50 meters and a sapphire crystal. I have to admit, Junghans appeals more to design and not to necessarily day-to-day functionality as much as it probably should. I totally get the gripes when I always mention the Max Bill chronoscope. Some of the specs on there, it's, I think, probably a little bit overpriced for what you're getting in terms of a spec breakdown, but I just love the design of this thing. I was willing to overpay a little bit and I got it at a good deal. This watch I think is fairly priced. You're getting good specs, a little bit heightened water resistance, as well as that sapphire crystal, and a really clean aesthetic and design. So this is another good watch to consider, and really like this as an alternative for somebody that wants something a little bit different from the brand. So for our next brand here, we're gonna stick in Germany and go and look at Sinn. And I was the proud owner of a Sinn 104 in the past. One of the few watches that when I was first kind of starting getting into watches a little bit more that I did not regret. I did enjoy that watch. It was just a little bit too big for my wrist, but partially why I'm not mad about that purchase at all is where it's at now. I was able to pass it on to my cousin who's a pilot and just became a captain. So really happy for him, and he wears this thing all the time. So it's really cool to see it. But the Sinn watch we're looking at here is, of course, not the Sinn 104. It's a very popular watch, but instead of chronograph, not the 103, not the 903, but the 356. So this watch comes in with a price range of $1,800 to $3,000, and that will make sense in a moment why it's quite a wide range. Case size, 38.5 millimeters, powered by an automatic SW500 movement, water resistance of 100 meters, and has a sapphire, but also has the availability for an acrylic crystal. But why I like this watch so much is just the options that you have. So you have the sapphire crystal option, the acrylic crystal option, but looking a little bit deeper what's underneath the crystal, you have many different dial variations and colors, my favorite being a copper dial, which is awesome. And they also speak to why the range in which the price range is all mapped out here is a little bit wider, but really awesome watches that I think should get some more love. Now our next watch here actually was included in a video I did several months back where I talked about the most underrated watches of all time. And I honestly think I will stand by my inclusion of this watch in that video. And if you want to see that video, I'll link to it down below. But the watch is the Omega Railmaster. Back in 1957, Omega made history with releasing 3 very iconic watches known as the Professional Collection. It consisted of the Seamaster 300, a watch for divers and those involved in marine activity, the Omega Speedmaster, a watch which was made with the intention of being a sports and racing option, but later became the watch that went to the moon. And then the third of the trio is the forgotten of the triplets, the Omega Railmaster, a watch made for engineers and was known for its high anti-magnetic properties. And with Omega starting to push the Railmaster a bit more as of late, I definitely wanted to include this watch on the list today. So the price range here, we're looking at $3,500 to $5,000, case size of 40 millimeters, powered by an Omega 8806 movement, water resistance of 150 meters, and has a sapphire crystal. Now this watch isn't completely underrated, but the problem with just the watch in general is the fact that the 2 competing watches that were released at the same time in the same collection as this watch ended up being 2 of the probably top 5 most iconic watches of all time, arguably. So that's gonna make it a little bit overshadowed. And if I had to choose my favorite of the trio, Speedmaster, Seamaster, Railmaster, get the pitchforks ready, I think I'd go with the Railmaster. So it was made very clear in the Facebook group when I asked the question what watches should be included in this. Anything but the El Primero from Zenith is probably a good go. And we have another Zenith watch on our list here today. And the watch is the Zenith Pilot Chronometro Tipo CP2. So back in the 1960s, earlier forms of these watches were supplied to the Italian armed forces. And this watch stays true to those pieces, from the sizing, dial layout, and the pump pushers. These watches come with a price range of $5,000 to $7,700, case size of 43 millimeters, powered by an automatic El Primero 405B movement, water resistance of 100 meters, and a sapphire crystal. But why I like these things, you have two different options here. You have that aged stainless steel and then also bronze. And just a couple references I was looking at, the 11-2240-40521C773 and the 18C801, one with stainless steel and the other with bronze. And why I wanted to include this watch, when you think of chronographs from Zenith, chances are you're not thinking of this watch. So I thought it was cool. Thought there was a cool story behind it with the actual military action that it saw. So wanted to include it on our list here today. Well guys, that is my list for today. If you want me to continue this series, give this video a thumbs up. That's also a huge way to help the channel. Big thanks to around like the 2 to 5% of you that like the video after watching it. That's huge help. And also, if you want to add an iconic piece to your collection, but you want to make sure you're buying something authentic from a reputable dealer and also getting it at a fair price, I have partnered up with Bob's Watches. Bob's Watches is one of the largest online retailers for watches. They have all different brands, hundreds of watches to choose from. And if you use the link down in the description below, any purchase also supports me and the channel, the content you're watching. So that'd be a big help. On top of that, guys, if you want to have a chance to win the giveaway, fill out the watch giveaway form, follow me on Instagram. We just announced the winner of the Seiko SRPC 93, and we're gonna have some more giveaways coming, so make sure you're up to date there. And then guys, if you wanna check out a watch strap, wanna help take your watch to the next level, have some awesome watch straps as well on my website. Go check it out there in the description. And guys, thanks again so much for watching. It's crazy I get to talk about something I love and people actually want to engage with it, and it's awesome to just to see the feedback from you guys. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon.